My name is Clint Ramos. I am the costume designer for Sunday in the Park with George. The revival is inspired by the concert production that we did at City Center at the Gala. And I think what we didn't want to lose was that quality. The orchestra is on stage. There's very little scenery. You know, Beowulf Boyd did an amazing job of creating almost this blank but beautiful space. The physical color comes from the clothes. So there was a lot of onus to get that right, and B, to make it beautiful. The production relies on the costumes to be the main sort of visual impact. My biggest inspiration were really Seurat's words and Seurat's mission, which was to break the mold of tradition and to pursue modernism and modernity, you know, and hence he did these paintings with 11 colors. He didn't mix colors, he drew with dots. He painted with dots, you know, and he didn't use black. So to me, that was what the mandate was. All of the clothes are cut like modern clothes. It was about how to assemble these modern pieces to create what looked like a period painting. And in a way, honoring what he did, which was just assemble the pieces and let the audience or the viewer assemble the whole thing themselves. In the painting, there's a central figure, aside from Dot, but in the middle of the painting is the lady in an orange jacket and a cream skirt. In the period, the top part of that would have had a net or a lace décolletage going up to her neck. But because sort of we're pursuing modernity, and I saw how beautiful Erin Davies's clavicle was, we actually exposed that. So this is Erin Davies' costume, and she plays Yvonne. This is the underdress, which she wears in the modern section of the play, in the contemporary section. And over that goes this off-the-shoulder jacket that exposes much of her shoulder and her clavicle. Just two fabrics. I just used a cream silk wool and an orange silk wool. No trim, nothing. There's no boning, there's no corsetry except for Annalie when she's in the boudoir scene. It's the only corset in the show, and it's made out of silk taffeta and a little bit of lace. This is the most decorated piece. Of all the pieces, the costumes, this is probably the only one that has trim that's very minimal. So the first act Dot costume, I wanted to simplify it, but I also wanted it to be more delicious. Especially with Annalie playing it, there is almost a very ripe quality to Dot. And so I wanted to simplify it by using two colors, which was whatever I can do to come as close to black, which is this really deep navy for her jacket, that actually is a trick jacket and is attached by magnets, so it just peels off of her and shows her corset, and a rich cobalt blue for her skirt. The cobalt blue comes from the painting, but it's one of the dots that he uses to assemble her skirt. And it has a pretty intense sort of attached ball bustle behind it. The bustle detaches, so it comes off, and she wears just the skirt in Act 2 with a sweater. And all of it is done in silk, beautiful silk wool that has a certain sheen to it to sort of have light bounce off of it, you know, color and light. And so that's how we sort of attack Dot's costume. I think what a lot of people don't know is that the clothes in Act 2 are actually the clothes in Act 1. By removing the jacket or a layer in Act 1, you are in Act 2, you know? By removing a quote-unquote frock coat in Act 1 and adding a modern coat, they complete a modern suit, you know? So that's sort of like the breaking of the mold that excited me, because not only was it visual, it was also systemic. There are so many things you can take away from the show, but for me, I think the most profound thing to take away is that creating art is really a spiritual journey, you know? Nothing more, nothing less. That one has to go inward to find your way out. And that's sort of beautiful, you know, that true art cannot happen if you don't have true self-understanding. And I think that's what Georges Seurat was trying to do. That's what Sondheim and Lapine are trying to do. You know, they are just these souls looking for truth, and that truth can only be found through art.